So this is UNSW, the place where I spent 4 years of my life trying to find a good place to nap, consuming bubble tea, and having frequent life crises. So as with my time in the University of Manchester, I've decided to review the 4 minus 1.5 years that I've spent here as a student. And where better to start than the very beginning. Okay guys, so a bit of a spanner in the works. I was meant to film over there, basically on the village green, which is the oval at my uni, but turns out they fenced it up because I assume there must be some sort of problem that they're repairing. The reason why I wanted to film here was because this was actually the very first place I came to on my very first day of uni. And there used to be a pavilion actually in the middle of the oval. And I came here because there was an audition for the Theatrical Society. Yes, I was one of those drama kids in high school, except I was one of those drama kids who was never really the main character and was more so in the background. Safe to say that I realized during my time at university that I was probably one of those kids who just enjoyed acting and was probably only cast in school musicals because there was a lack of other options. Basically, my career as a thespian was cut short because I auditioned and was rejected. So I'm in the business school building and actually in the room where I had my very first class. I had actually forgotten how snazzy the business school building is, but it's actually pretty snazzy, I've got to say. The facilities at UNSW are pretty decent on the whole. But I remember coming in on my very first day of uni all wide-eyed and hopeful, and I had all these romanticized visions in my head of how uni was going to be super exciting and fun and how I was going to make all these new friends. Little did I know that in my very first tutorial class that I would ask someone whether they wanted to sit next to me and that they would respond with a no. That experience in itself was a sign that my expectations for my university social life may have been a bit too high. But over the years, I have made a couple of friends who I genuinely think are some of the best people I know in the world. They're people who I can be really honest with, who I really connect with, and who are always my biggest cheerleaders. And I'm just really grateful for them, you know? But if you are in university right now and still haven't found people that you really connect with, know that it is really hard and also really dependent on luck. I've talked to a lot of other students who've been disheartened because they struggle to make friends that they really connect with. So know that it is really normal, not that that helps if I'm gonna be honest. I decided to talk about friendships here on the quad lawn because this is where me and my friends used to have lunch. My university is actually pretty green, it's got quite a lot of trees, but in terms of grassy areas, that can be quite limited. So the quad lawn is a bit of a safe haven, even though it's boxed in by classrooms. This is my favorite place on campus, however. It is an ideal people watching location because during term time, there are always people going from upper to lower campus and vice versa. And I really love this spot because of the trees that are above me. A, they're beautiful, but also B, they keep you shady and cool. And also they kind of enclose you, so when you look out, it makes you feel like you're just watching the world go by. In my second semester of my first year of university, I had a class in this lecture hall, and it was the first time that I realized I actually loved what I was studying. This class was for my development studies major, and it really taught me how latent power and privilege are in the world around us. And I'm not saying that that's something you need to learn at a tertiary institution. In fact, I think it's something that everyone should be aware of, and really, probably everyone is, but I think I was particularly naive coming into university. I came in wanting to study economics and development studies, thinking that I would be given the answers and solutions to some of the world's biggest social issues. And funnily enough, I was not. I mean, I think that should be pretty obvious by the fact that if it was that easy, that wars would have been solved by now, poverty would have been eradicated by now. But little old me did not realize how complex the world really is. And I've definitely left university with a bit more disillusionment and many more questions than I started out with actually. Despite loving some of the classes and lecturers that I had here, I've got to say that that was not the case for all my lectures and classes. There were some lecturers who blatantly admitted to caring more about their research than teaching. There were others who seemed to care more about their power over students than actually helping them. And there were others still who rushed through the content so that they could leave lectures early. And there were also courses where I just felt like I didn't really learn anything new. And so I don't really know how my education stacks up against other universities, but if I'm gonna be honest, I've got to rank my uni probably at fairly average at best. best. And if you like numerical scales, maybe a 6.5 out of 10. Oh, I almost forgot that also in 2019, my university actually changed from a semester system to a trimester system. So basically from 2 terms to 3 terms. And with that, they shortened the weeks. And that means that courses that were formerly 13 weeks long are now 9 weeks long and still had to maintain the same amount of content. And yes, they've increased the hours, but you don't seem to learn as much, or it's really rushed. And also on top of that, with the term system, they've reduced our breaks by over 4 weeks, and our breaks don't match up with other universities. So if you're trying to organize trips with friends, it becomes more difficult. So actually, I'm gonna have to amend my previous rating of the education here from a fairly average to an average, and a 6.5 to a 5.5. I know. Can you tell that I have mixed feelings about this institution? I'm not someone who likes to have time-sensitive regrets because I figure, what's the point in regretting something in the past that you can't change? But one thing I do wish I had done more of during my time at university is get involved in clubs and societies. In my first couple of years of uni, I did throw myself into a society, but I didn't really invest enough time or energy to really become part of that community. In my 3rd year of university, however, I discovered the Rock and Roll and Swing Dance Society. It was a new society that had just formed that year, and it was the first time in a long time that I had actually found something I genuinely enjoyed and just found fun. And let me tell you, I was terrified to go to my first class, but then I loved it. So you never know if you never try. For those of you who aren't from Sydney or Australia, here are some bonus facts that you might like to know about UNSW. Fact number 1, UNSW is located about 20 minutes away from Sydney City Centre, and it's really easily accessible by bus and light rail, which is our tram system. Fact number 2, there's not really that much going on in the area around campus, but there are a lot of good restaurants and bubble tea shops. Y'all didn't really think that I was gonna mention bubble tea twice in this video and not use it as an excuse to get bubble tea today. So good. Fact number 3, there is on-campus accommodation. However, most of the students who are from Sydney will probably be living at home. So it is more likely that the students living in on-campus accommodation are international students. Although I have no idea what's going on right now with COVID. The final fact, unlike other universities such as UTS, UNSW campus is basically just like one big rectangle. So when you're on campus, you really do feel like you're on campus, as opposed to, for example, UTS, which is spread around the city or across different streets. For me, university was a time of learning about my own privilege. It was a time of trying to work out what I think is important and what I want to do with my life. And at the very least, I think I've become a little more self-aware. And even though I'm not sure it was the best years of my life, I'm really hoping it wasn't, because that means I have nothing to look forward to in the future. I'm really grateful for the privilege it is to be able to receive a tertiary education, and for all the people that I'm still able to call my friends.